so now I'm going to talk you through how to export a video. Now, exporting a video it's one of those things. How long's a piece of string? How important is this to you? This is my previous video on how to do sound animation. So I've imported the. So if I just move me out of the way of it, you can see here is my finished video. What I want to do is I want to go to File, and first of all I want to save the work that I'm doing. Depending on the PC that you're on, it could potentially crash. Just make sure that your work is backed up. So I go to File, Export Media, and you will get some export settings. Now, my personal render format of choice is Windows Media, and I do things at 1080p. Obviously, if you do something at 1080p full kind of resolution, it's going to take hours to render, and the file size is going to be huge. AVI is is the best. I avoid AVI because the files are massive. Windows Media, which is a WMV file, is kind of my personal favourite, which is the next best. You've got your standard HD settings, but what quite a lot of people do is they do a H.264 render. These will give you relatively good quality files, but they will render off quickly and they are tiny. The issue with the H.264 settings is there's a lot of them. Scroll your way down using the down arrow and find like the 1080. I or P, you're uploading it to YouTube, it doesn't matter. YouTube's going to encode it to itself anyway. There are differences between I and P that I know, but I can't be bothered explaining in this video. I'm just going to select P because that's the most common. You can edit things here. If you're finding that the render times are monstrous and you just need to get a video down, you can tweak some of these things. Start with the resolution, make it smaller. I'm just going to stick it back to 1080. Frame rates, you can drop it. Don't drop it below 15. You'll have issues if you drop it below 15. The aspect, it doesn't really matter. TV standard, NTSC, PAL's what we use in the UK, but again, it doesn't actually matter. You're not going to be having anything broadcast on television, so by default leave it on PAL, but NTSC, which is the American standard, doesn't really matter. The rest of the things I wouldn't really tweak that much. You get an estimated file size down here. You can see that if I drop things, it doesn't really change yet. It's kind of, this here is more to do with the setting that you've actually chosen. With AVI, it just doesn't even attempt to give you a resolution, file size. So anyway, I'll stop rambling. H.264. Now you have to click the down arrow. It doesn't let you scroll very well on this screen. I select the one that I want. Now I can either click export, which will instantly bring up a render queue, or I can click Q, which will bring up a separate thing. Now, just one last thing is you select the output name. With Premiere Pro, it will always default to the last place somebody on that computer saved Premiere Pro to. So the last thing I saved went into the Route 57 folder. I don't want it to go in there. I want to go into my test folder. I want to save it here. So if I click Q, now this is only useful if you're on a vaguely decent machine. What this does is it brings up a separate program which will allow me to render off a video in the background. There we go, it's rendering off, and I'm able to carry on working on my video at the same time. If I go to File, Export, Media, just call it 1 and tell it to export, it takes over the program and I can't do anything in the background while it's rendering. So it's a cost efficient, time efficient way of you being able to work and render at the same time. It is dependent on the speed of your machine. If you're on a slow computer, it's not worth it. Either one's going to render it off for you, but you're not going to be able to do both at the same time. So yes, that's everything. The video will be starting to stutter because the computer's processing power is being dedicated to rendering. I've not decided what my next video is going to be.